Hello and welcome to our online talk, Objects of the Year 2023. I'm Heather and I'm part of the archive team at the M&S Archive in Leeds. Today we're going to look at some of the objects that have arrived at the archive this year, from a 1940s coat to 1970s children's wear. If you're watching the premiere of this talk, we're here to answer any questions in the chat on the right hand side. Otherwise, just email us at archive@m&s.com with any queries. Before we delve into our fascinating objects, I shall begin with sharing the M&S story, which begins over 135 years ago. M&S was founded by Michael Marks, who came over from Belarus, then Russian Poland, to Leeds in 1884 looking for work. At this time, Leeds was a major hub for the textile industry, and Michael met a local owner of a Leeds wholesalers, Isaac Dewhurst. Dewhurst must have been impressed, as he lent Michael the sum of £5 to buy goods from his warehouse to sell. Michael began peddling goods, but was soon able to set up his first market stall at Leeds Kirkgate Market in 1884. We can see an artist's impression here of what it would have looked like, with all items displayed out for customers to browse and handle, a welcome gesture, as it was customary in other shops to store items behind counters. In 1894, Michael's partnership with Tom Spencer was established after Tom, a senior cashier at the time, came recommended by Isaac Dewhurst. Together Marks and Spencer was born, and this allowed for expansion onto the high street, and by the turn of the century there were 12 Marks and Spencer shops and 24 stalls. By 1908, both Michael Marks and Tom Spencer had both passed away. When Michael's son, Simon Marks, was old enough, management of the company passed to him in 1916. Simon transformed the business in the 1920s and 1930s, introducing a wider range of goods, including ready-made clothing, as well as children's toys, food and homeware. Some of these original items form part of the archive collection, which is held at our purpose-built archive storage facility in Leeds, and is home to over 72,000 items relating to the story of M&S. The items we collect range from clothing, including women's wear, men's wear, kids' wear and lingerie, to food and homeware products we have sold over the decades. Our collection includes photographs, papers, films, clothing and food packaging we have sold over the years, and these have become part of the collection, coming from a range of sources, including donations from the public, transfers from M&S colleagues, deposits from different departments, and some are purchases made by the archive team. To maximise the use of our collection, we have a permanent exhibition and have a reading room service available for researchers to access our archive collection. The items you will see in this talk have been specially selected by the archive team to share with you today. The first item I'm going to share with you is this enchanting 1930s Conjuring Set, which came into the collection earlier this year after being spotted as a rare opportunity not to be missed. It was in fair condition for its age, but the outer box and some of the magic tricks inside required conservation repair. We commissioned the conservation work from West Yorkshire Archive Service, which has specialist conservators. You can see here we've got some before and after pictures showing some of the essential work being carried out. You can also see it featured here on the right in the Marks and Spencer Christmas magazine from 1932. The page is advertising wonderful gifts, and the set is described as a wonderful selection of mystifying illusions for amateur and expert. When the Conjuring Set went proudly on display in our childhood case earlier in the year, it was a great conversational piece with our visitors. Our next item is a lovely floral collarless pure cotton set of Winsett pajamas with blue and pink rose design. It shows the label St. Michael REGD, which informs us that these were being produced in the mid-late 1950s. These well-preserved pajamas came to us early in the year, in February. The pajamas were bought by the donor's mother to keep her warm at age 12, at her cold boarding school. They had since been kept in a drawer for 60 years, until the weather should get that cold enough again to wear them. When it did, the donor got them out and wore them, and they fitted perfectly, but sadly the donor felt the winceyette was not as comfortable as more modern fabrics, and so she donated them to us to give them a different purpose in life. This following item came all the way across the country to us from Aberdeen. The 1950s St Michael cash register has become one of our most iconic pieces that we have in the collection. It is a frequent conversational piece with our visitors, who reminisce about it being one of their favourite childhood pastimes. The cash register features include automatically registering, ringing and releasing the till, and the original came with play money, which has understandably been lost over the years in the case of this particular example. You can see the cash register represents how money was used in the 1950s, as the money is shown in shillings and pence, predating the beginning of the removal of shillings from our currency on the 15th of February 1971, also known as Decimal Day. Whilst we had a couple of these already in the collection, we felt we had to acquire this particular toy till, as not only was it in good condition for its age compared to ones we already had in the collection, but this till had been enjoyed by multiple generations of one family and needed a new permanent home where it could continue to be admired. The home furnishings department opened in 1970. This included a selection of rugs, curtains and bed linen, all in matching patterns, shades and tones. This next selection of items came from a fairly large donation of 15 items early in the year, and here are a few highlights to share with you. This trendy 70s octagonal shape design is vibrant and boasts a range of shades of purple, and as you can see here, it also came in an autumnal shades. Another popular design was our large floral designs, which came in multiple colourways, including browns, yellows and oranges, various shades of pink, purples, blues and greens. All could be paired with matching curtains, rugs and bedspreads to complete the look. These sheets were not just there for admiration, they also served their practical uses, being machine washable, minimum iron and retain a crease-free appearance when in use, all designed to make them easy care, practical and durable for the user. Beyond their domestic practical uses, vintage prints and patterns, like these, are often a source of inspiration to our design colleagues in head office, who regularly use archive objects to help inspire future ranges. We have one of the strongest collections of wartime civilian clothing, known as CC41 in the UK. It's a real highlight within our clothing collection, and we are always keen to add to this part of our story. The utility scheme was introduced by the government in 1941 as a way of making sure the quality of garments produced was high, despite raw materials being in scarce supply during the Second World War. Textile technologists at M&S worked with the Board of Trade to come up with the scheme to ensure that all garments met the specifications of good quality lasting garments, despite the restrictions placed upon them. When a repeat donor who used to work in M&S stores got in touch with us earlier this year and offered us this rare CC41 item, we were delighted to accept her offer. This well-preserved wool duck egg coat now forms a key part of our collection, previously unrepresented as we didn't have any CC41 outerwear prior to this donation. The absence of buttons and large fronted pockets highlights the functionality and practicality of the garment, whilst meeting the restrictions placed upon it under the CC41 clothing scheme. The coat has made its way on display in the exhibition, paired with a CC41 blouse and woolen skirt to complete the look. This next item came to us as a donation from the same donor as the CC41 coat. This cheerful children's skirt, featuring primarily primary colours, can be seen to depict a scene of people, including a young boy and girl holding an arrangement of balloons amongst the birds. You can see this circa 1958 full skirt has not had to meet the same restrictions as our previous item, as war restrictions on clothing was lifted at the beginning of the 1950s. This full skirt and nipped-in waist is a typical example of Christian Dior's New Look style, which inspired the fashion for this time. You can see the colourful skirt featured here on the right in Woman magazine as part of an advert for St Michael Fashions, featured alongside a wonderful selection of ladies' skirts and dresses being sold by us at the time. We're next going to look at these striking boys' Olympic-style swimming trunks from the 1970s we received from a local donor. These belonged to the donor when he was younger and feature a linking ring design in the patriotic colours of red, white and blue. These trunks, along with some children's vests, were found whilst the donor was clearing out their parents' house. The vests, made from botany wool and nylon, were worn by the donor and in turn by the donor's little brother, who is now 6'5". The items were likely to have been bought by their mother at the Hull store, where she would shop twice weekly, with her husband on a Saturday and her father on Thursday afternoons. The donor's mum had packed the vest amongst other items and left a little note explaining the date and instructing the donor and the little brother they would have to decide what to do with them, which of course, as we now know, was donate them to us. The next few items you can see here are items that have been sold in our stores more recently. It is important to mention here the archive doesn't only collect vintage items relating to the story of M&S. We are also interested in recent iconic pieces, bestsellers, and archive-inspired products to continue telling our story for future generations. The first item you can see here is this M&S luxury gold tea caddy that depicts our original M&S market stall in Newcastle Granger Market. You can see it positioned here alongside an image of the original market from circa 1930 that inspired its design. This is one of many examples of when the archive has been used by the business to inspire new products. This year also saw the coronation of King Charles III take place on Saturday the 6th of May 2023 at Westminster Abbey. To honour this epic event, we sold commemorative products in our stores, including food products, clothing and homeware goods. We have a few examples here of the products we have acquired to preserve this part of history for future generations. This includes a light-up cushion with a Westminster design, the King Charles III biscuit tin in a purple and gold design depicting the royal crown, and men's white handkerchiefs with embroidered pieces associated with the monarchy, including the crown, lion and unicorn taken from the royal coat of arms, King Charles Spaniel and the Union Jack flag. Keeping on the theme of the royal family, this next item relates to the coronation of Elizabeth II, which took place on the 2nd of June 1953 at Westminster Abbey. This coronation apron, commemorating the occasion, is one of our most recent items acquired for the collection, and it found its way to us months after the coronation of His Majesty King Charles III. It was surprisingly found in a charity shop by the donor. This delightful piece of history tells the story of part of the coronation procession, whereby the gold state coach made its way around London and ended at Westminster Abbey. We can see the crowds gathered around the iconic Trafalgar Square, waiting in anticipation of the gold state coach to reach them, and also the iconic Beefeaters standing guard. The apron also features the symbols of flowers associated with the British Isles. This includes a thistle to represent Scotland, a daffodil for Wales, a Tudor rose for England and a shamrock for Northern Ireland. The business creates and uses a huge amount of digital assets, including images for marketing and promotion. Following an update to a new system, we were able to add hundreds of images from the old system to our own digital repository. This has been a particular asset to the collection, as we previously had gaps in our store photographs collection from the late 2000s period. For example, the Leeds Birstall store opened on the 29th of July 2009, and we will be celebrating its 15th year in 2024, and we will now be in a position to offer our team some imagery to go with any celebrations they might have to mark the occasion. The interior product shots are also particularly helpful to the user, as they show us key M&S branding, products of the time, in-store layouts and concepts used during the 2000 to 2010 period. It also represents our shifting focus to the opening of Simply Food stores and movement to out-of-town premises in line with the changing needs of our customers. We are currently working through adding these to our online digital collection to allow easy access to interested internal and external users. We received an interesting donation relating to two of our store detectives who covered our London stores from the 1930s to the 1960s. The donation included photographs and papers relating to store detectives Dorothy Christie and Caroline Davies. Davies featured in local newspapers during the time, as you can see here. It reads, "Woman Store Detective praised for her tenacity and courage in capturing a purse thief in May 1960. As part of the accession, we have papers showing arrests in which Davies was involved from March to November 1960, and a list of apprehensions made by Davies when working in Marble Arch Store in 1962, shown here on the left. We also have a letter included in the donation that was sent to Dorothy Christie whilst on duty at our Kingston store, outlining a reward to the sum of £2 and 2 shillings that was given by us for sustaining minor injuries on her hand after being bitten during an apprehension and receiving hospital treatment. When not on duty, you can see Christie, second from the left, and Davies, last on the right, enjoying an M&S get-together with colleagues and friends. The next collection highlight came as a donation from a local visitor. This 25-year-long service watch belonged to former employee and Holocaust survivor Eugene Black. Born Gina Swartz in Czechoslovakia in 1928, 16-year-old Eugene was returning home from school in May 1944 to find a lorry parked outside his home containing his parents and 2 sisters. After being transported in a cattle truck drawn by a train, he arrived at Auschwitz several days later, where he was separated from his family, processed, and eventually transferred to Buchenwald, Dora Mittelbau. He was finally liberated from Bergen-Belsen on the 15th of April 1945. Walking out of camp that day, he met a British Army doctor from Liverpool, who later became a good friend. After his release, Eugene became an interpreter for the British Army, met his future wife, and came to the UK as a refugee. In 1950, he had an interview at our Manchester store for the position of warehouseman. He got the job, and Eugene and his wife were able to purchase a house in Oldham and start a family. Eugene worked his way up to the position of store manager and settled in Leeds, finishing his career after working over 35 years for us. He was presented with the watch you can see here, alongside other M&S long service colleagues, to mark his 25-year service in 1975, and we are fortunate to have been given this opportunity to take custody of this gift and tell his story alongside it. To finish, we have a more festive item. This is packaging for a connoisseur Christmas pudding we sold in the late 1990s. The pudding is described as fruity and moist, made with vine fruits, glacier cherries and apricots, steeped in Courvoisier, cognac and brandy. The pudding arrived intact with the receipt still inside, telling us that the pudding was purchased on the 27th of November 1998 at Wimbledon for £5.99 alongside some sprouts, carrots and salted butter. Sadly, with perishable goods, for the purpose of preservation, we have had to remove the pudding itself, but the packaging still remains and the receipt, preserved to remind us of the journey this one pudding took from store to home. This brings us to the end of our talk featuring object highlights from 2023. Our story continues to be told for future generations through the key additions that are added to the collection, including past items we have sold and new items being on sale today. All of our past talks are available on our YouTube channel, so if you'd like to delve a bit deeper into our M&S history and our story, that's a great place to start. Do get in touch if you have any questions, and keep an eye out for more online events on our website.